is Arianna Harris, producer and host of Aim for the Stars, where you'll meet the stars of today and tomorrow. I'm an actress and model from the East Coast of the United States, and this show is brought to you by Jess TV and Jess FM Radio from Lethbridge, Alberta. I am pleased to introduce my next guest, Robert Daprocida. Robert is a Canadian born actor, singer, and pianist. Hello, Robert. I'm so excited that you could join me today.
Hi, Arianna. I'm excited to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
Of course. Could you tell the audience a little more about your process of getting a role in this TV series X Files? How you got that?
Well, that started actually early. That was early in my career. I moved to Vancouver. See, I grew up in a small town in the Kootenays. It's called Cranbrook, British Columbia, which is in British Columbia where Vancouver is. And then I had aspirations of acting. So right after graduation, I kind of moved to the big city. And the first couple of years were pretty challenging, actually. So what I did was just kind of get out there and later they started taking some whatever courses I could find, and then slowly I got into a little bit of theater, and but I really wanted to get into film, but the theater thing was kind of going good too. I did quite a number of shows out there, and then eventually got involved in it was actually a live interactive theater show. It's called Tony and Tina's Wedding. They played that in quite a number of cities actually, and so I started doing that. It was a lot of fun because it was a lot of improvising, a lot of that kind of thing. And a couple of the people that were in the cast were they were already doing a little bit of film and TV, so just a lot of brain picking. So what do I got to do? So a good friend of mine that was in the show, he said, "Well, you got to reach out to my agent. You know, this is what you got to do. Go get some headshots. We'll get a resume done up." And I was like, "Okay." So I did all the theater stuff that I did because I didn't do any film at that point yet, and I got some headshots done. And then we didn't have all the internet and stuff, so there was no emailing or anything then. So I was just really persistent. I was sending this guy every couple of weeks. I just mail him my headshot and resume, and I just kept going and going for a few months. And then finally one day he calls me, and the first thing he said, didn't even say hello. He just looked at me and said, "God, you're persistent. I'll give you that." So he goes, "Come and see me on Monday." So all right. So he goes, "Have a monologue prepared, have this prepared, have that prepared." So I went into his office, did my thing, and he said, "Okay." He goes, "I like what you did and that kind of thing." He goes, "I'm gonna say you're not a good looking guy." I'm like, "Okay." He goes, "But," he goes, "I think you can act." So he said, "I'll take you on." So he did, and believe it or not, I actually booked the first audition I ever went on. He sent me out on my first audition. Didn't know what I was doing, but just went and did my thing and got the part. Then I got another call from him, which he never says hello because I was the kind of guy he was. And he goes, "You booked it. I'm really happy." Then he hung up on me. And that's kind of how it started. So,
That's so funny.
yeah, that was back in the 90s. So, kind of, my career kind of in film started more in the 90s. And I went to Vancouver and I started going through, like I said, the process. And it was actually going quite well. And then 1998, we had the ACTRA Film Union. That's kind of like the affiliate to SAG in Canada. They had a big strike in 1998, and it was kind of this like instant halt. There was like nothing going on. There wasn't an audition I had anywhere for months, right? So
Mhm.
then I just kind of said, okay, well, I have some cousins and family in Calgary, Alberta. I'm just going to go hang out down there and wait for all this to blow over. And I get down here, and within God, I wasn't even here a couple of days. A friend of mine calls me up. He goes, "You remember that show you were doing in Vancouver?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "They're doing it here. They're holding an audition." So, well, okay. So went an audition for that, got into that show, and then I met my wife, and rest kind of history. I kind of stayed here and
And
realized
happily
that
ever after, right?
yeah, it was. But the only problem was there was no film industry here at the time, right? And we didn't have all the self taping back then and that kind of thing. So it was kind of, well, I got to come up with something else to do, right? So I literally, it was kind of 1998, I just kind of stopped and didn't do anything for quite a number of years. I did sign up with an agent down here, so I did do a few things early on, but then it just wasn't busy enough, and we were planning to get married, have kids, so I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna do something else. So I actually went and did something else for quite a long time, probably 18, 20 years. And then a few years back, the kids are growing up now and stuff. So I said, hey, now we got all this thing, The one benefit, I guess, that came out of COVID for actors was all the self taping, right? That made such a difference. And when I heard about that and I heard what was going on, how to do that, I was like, hey, that could actually work because, can actually now start plugging away at different places you can't audition for, right? You have to live there, right? But now I can do it all over the place. So slowly just started getting back at it, started rekindling with agents and, doing a bit of that, self taping, self submitting, doing the literally like, geez, it was crazy. It was just kind of starting all from scratch again, right? But it's starting to work out well. So
Yep, that's so cool. Acting is definitely a journey. I'm glad you kind of found your place. I'm actually curious about your transition from theater to acting, and like, do you think it helped you, or do you think it was kind of like hurting you? Because in theater there's there's not the cameras and stuff that you have to pay attention to.
yeah, actually, well, I actually had a couple transitions because I originally started in music. I started playing the piano at the age of 4, and literally started singing like shortly after. So music was kind of most of my childhood. And I used to take something called the Royal Conservatory Music, which is like it comes from Europe. It's a really prestigious kind of music program, and I finished it really young. By the time I was 13, most people finish it when they're in their adulthood. I finished it by the age of 13, so I was really heavy into the music. But then, because of the piano and the music, I was at a music school. I think I was 12 years old, 13 years old, and they had a musical theater program as just kind of one or two of the courses that went along with the music. And as soon as I did, got into that, I just loved it. I was like, oh, this is great. This is, I always loved playing in front of people, singing in front of people, but I just something about the playing a character and doing that kind of thing I just love. So started doing quite a few musicals when I was a young teenager because Cranbrook, where I lived, was small. We didn't have anything filmed, right? So did quite a bit of that, and then as I got to my high school years, it was just film was I always loved movies, right? So it's like for me, that's what I want to do is film. So that's what led me to go as soon as I graduate, gone. I went to Vancouver and started, right?
So not so difficult for you because you knew kind of that it's what you wanted to do.
Well, it is a transition because it's a totally different kind of acting when you're acting on a stage to when you're acting in a camera, right? The techniques are just so different. Um, I was just fortunate enough that I didn't get as nervous and scared because I just did it my whole life. I was always doing something in front of an audience of some kind, so it didn't really scare me. And you know, I know a lot of people get like really heavy butterflies, jitters. I can usually stay, for the most part, pretty relaxed and not be, intimidated by, the process. But it is a totally different types of techniques, right? So I did a lot of theater training. I did a lot of film training, just to kind of get that, that change, right?
Right. And are you still playing the piano as well?
Oh yeah, I still play piano. I still sing. One of my daughters is, a really good singer. My wife sings, so we still get asked to like, play at weddings. We play at funerals. We'll sometimes just get asked to play a guest performance. So we just kind of do it once in a while, not as much as we used to, just because time. Right, I got 3 kids, so we're busy like nonstop. So, but I'll do it whenever there's an opportunity, of course.
I think it would be cool if you could play a piano in a film.
Yeah, that would be. Well, actually, I did do something. So yeah, I guess I said I didn't do any film when I was little. I did do as I think it was a background, some kind of thing that came through the Kootenays. I don't know what the production was. I didn't even know. I don't even think we got paid or anything. They were just coming through and they needed some kind of performer. So I was dressed up like what it was from the 1700s, and I just played something in the background. I don't even remember what that was, right? But yeah, one day I'd like to play probably a character in a role that's like musician and that kind of thing. I get cast as a lot of bad guys because they're. I'm really good at scaring people, so I could do that pretty easy, right? But I would like to play a pianist, right? One time, I did play the Well, I was playing a musician actually, but I didn't. I don't. I did play at the beginning of the movie. Now that I think about it, it was a short film, and I was dad to this little boy, and I'm a musician, and I completely forgot about this. And my son realized had a lot of talent. He just was naturally gifted at music, so it was just a short little film. I actually haven't even seen it yet, but what happened was the transition of the character is that, like, he's a super loving, supportive dad, but then he gets obsessed with his kid's talent. So throughout the kind of the short, you start seeing the dad kind of digress. He just becomes this really aggressive, just wanting his son, of course, to be like the greatest pianist in the world, right? But at the end, he kind of realizes what happened because he almost breaks the son, right? With all the heavy, and goes back to being the loving dad again, right? So, cute little short. So yeah, I guess I did play a little bit of music.
That's cool. Get a second one in there.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So were your parents, were they the one who got you into film and like piano and all of this stuff since you did it super young? Were they like supportive?
Oh yeah. Well, it was like not so much the theater that kind of just kind of I stumbled across that throughout my life. But it was my mom who got me into piano when I was 3. I was actually not even 4 because I started piano lessons at 4. But when I was about 3.5, she told me I had this little toy piano, and I used to like always go play on it. And then she came down one day, and I was actually playing songs. I was just learning songs by ear and playing music and Christmas tunes and that kind of stuff on this little toy piano. So it was like, oh, off to the piano teacher. Gotta get him. So really, that September, it was probably 4 or 5 months later. She had me in piano lessons, and yeah, just never stopped.
And then you got into the conservation, what's it? Conservation. How do you say that?
The conservatory?
Conservatory
Yeah,
program.
the Royal
I lost the
Conservatory.
word for a
Yep,
second out of
yeah. Which I don't know if
That's
they do that one in the United States, but it comes from England, and it's a really old. It's all classical music, like all the old, Beethoven, Bach, all the Chopin, all those old classical composers, right? So it's a pretty intensive program. There's actually 11 years, like 11. It's 10 grades, but the 10th one is 2 years. So you got to do all those, and then you got to go do the. There's actually like it's really a college course, but it's all the theory of it, then all the technical stuff of music too. So you have to do those courses at the end, and then when you're done, you're kind of a graduate, I guess, of the Royal Conservatory Music. So I just finished it young, so I started teaching piano actually at 13 years old. I taught for that was my high school job, was teaching piano.
that is so cool.
Yeah,
Not a lot of people can say they did that. That's for sure.
that was interesting, but it was great. I loved it. A couple hours after school, made decent money doing it, and you know didn't have to go break my back anymore.
Yeah, I had fun and did what you love, I guess.
That's right. That's right.
All right, well, just for everyone new tuning in, my name is Arianna Harris. I am host and producer of Aim for the Stars, and we're coming to you live on Jess TV. My guest is Robert. He is an actor, singer, and pianist. Now, I know we talked a little bit about your piano stuff, but I wanted to go back to film and just theater. What is your most memorable moment that you've had on a set?
Well, still one of my most favorite ones because we just had so much fun. We just got to we did a TV movie. It was with Craig T. Nelson. It was called Creature, and I played a Navy SEAL. So it was just like being on a playground, right? The set was awesome. We had this like this laboratory that they built in the studio that was half flooded, so it was all full of water. And we got to play with we were on army helicopters, jumping in and out of army helicopters. We got to play with all kinds of weapons. Scene I got to like burn up this whole thing with a big flamethrower, and it was just every day was kind of like fun. Like we were doing our job, but it was like wow, we get to do this today. Oh, we get to do that today, right? So it was pretty cool. It was pretty cool.
That's awesome. Did they have like real stuff or was it like a green screen kind of?
No, this was all done on location. Um, so they built this. We were actually right next to MacGyver. There, remember MacGyver back from the '90s, the Richard Dean Anderson one. So they were on one side
Mhm.
of the studio, and then our set was on the other. So we got to have lunch with Richard Dean Anderson every day, and Kitty Purcell, and Kim was actually no, sorry, she wasn't in that movie. I did something else with her, but we had lunch together. They were on the same set. We had the same caterers and stuff. And so that was kind of cool. And then we had this other location, which was away from the laboratory part. It was in, I don't know, I think it was about 30 minutes outside of Vancouver. It was in this farmer's field. But this whole show was was supposed to be out in the tropics, right? Because it's about a shark and that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
So in this farmer's field, they literally built this tropical swamp. So when you're driving down the highway, you looked over, and all of a sudden you're seeing palm trees and all this stuff in the middle of a farmer's field, right? And they flooded it, and they had, it was just incredible. Really good set, right? So a lot of fun to work on.
Yeah, that's super cool. I would love to just like be on a set like that. That sounds so fun.
And they don't do them as much anymore because, like you said, it's all most of it's all green screen now, right? So you
Mhm.
don't get the physical locations anymore as much. I mean, you get them a little bit, but still not the same, right? These guys before they used to just build this grandiose stuff. It was really cool.
Right, or they'll add stuff in post.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
The dreaded words. So, which one of your performances are you the most proud of?
Last year actually, I did one. I just really liked the way the whole performance went. Actually it was a vertical series that we did, but I really liked the role. It was it was bad, like a badass guy. I played a biker, um, but he was a dad as well, so he had his son and that kind of thing. I was kind of the bad guy of the movie, but just being able to play that kind of aggressive mean dad, but you have a little bit of dad moments, but not too much. So I really liked the performance. I thought it turned out really well. I put part of it in my reel because I really liked it, and yeah, really enjoyed that performance.
That's cool. Yes, I watched your reel, and of course, like, you're super talented and all of your work is great, but it's good to know which one, like, means the most to you, because I feel like when someone has a favorite thing that they did, it's always because something special. Either it's really good or just something meaningful happened on set or a combination of both. So I always love hearing about that.
Yeah, and I always find there's always something good about something, right? Either you like the location, or you had some really great people you're working with. Or the writing was really good, or you got to just do something you never did before, right? And that's the fun stuff about acting, right? We get to do all this stuff that most time you don't do in real life, right? So pretty cool.
Exactly, experience things most people can't. Even,
Yeah,
if it's a green screen or stuff, a lot of people can't say that they've, acted in front of this or been with tanks and stuff. So
that's right.
that's pretty cool. Do you have like a role model, someone that you look up to, or someone that inspires you to do this?
Uh, yes, but it's kind of like a number of people for different reasons, right? You like certain people. I love the way Anthony Hopkins, how he can just be so still on the camera and still be fascinating to watch. Um, I love watching Stanley Tucci, how he just plays such like a wide range of like characters, and doesn't just play them. Like he's all these different characters, right? And he really takes them to the extreme. I do like I guess I'm kind of partial with the classic actors like like Jack Nicholson. Love watching him. Robert De Niro, Al Pacino, all those guys. And yeah, again, all for different things. I love Al Pacino's eccentricness, the way he just like blows up and then right? Because some people do that on screen and it's like whoa, it's hard. It doesn't look real, but he does it in a way that just kind of really captivating, right? And De Niro.
Right, like a effortless.
Yeah, and it's always believable. It's never like doesn't come across as overacting. I mean, he's very big and stuff for such a small man, right? But it's totally. believable, right? And it just pulls you in. I think one of my favorite scenes is still is the Scent of the Woman. You know, there's probably two or three scenes in there that are still like, I don't know if they're beatable. They've just been
Mhm.
they're just amazing scenes. Like I remember seeing it for the first time, and you just keep like, you're looking closer and closer to your TV. It just like sucks you right in, right? But it was great. Yeah, he was really.
Yeah, I have. I get that. I understand that. Everybody, there's certain parts of every actor, every performance, every little thing that you can put into your performance to make it a little, better or more engaging, stuff like that. So that was a good answer. Do you have anything that you like to do outside of acting, like hobbies? What do you do in your leisurely time,
Oh, I do such a
if you
mix
have
of
any?
thing. Well, I owned and operated a building company for the last 25 years, so I did a lot of home construction, design houses. I build them. Um, I've been slowing down the last couple of years now that I've been getting back deeper into the acting again. I'm kind of my kids are growing up now, so kind of it's freeing me up to be able to do the things I like. But yeah, I did a lot of that. I played golf. I love golfing. Like to do music, like you said, and then I'm always I like to change just things up. I just kind of like to try everything. Somebody says, "Let's go play tennis." Sure, let's go play tennis, right? Even good or not, just go try it out, right? And we're always busy with the kids. We're very involved in the. My wife's Italian as well. She's just like me. She's the first generation born. Her parents are from Italy, and so we're very involved in the Italian community here. We have a cultural center here. My girls are in the Italian dancers, so when we're not doing our stuff, we're running around with them doing their performances, and yeah, just love it. Really, really proud of like my heritage. We kind of just live it every day. Kind of cook like Italians. We raise our kids like Italians. You know what I mean? So I'm a little bit old school that way, I guess. Yeah.
And how do you manage all that? Your work, your family, your friends. What are some of the challenges that come along?
Probably just not having enough time, but I just kind of just find little hole. Where's the space to fit this? Where's the space to fit that? Where it's conflicted a couple times. I had to turn down a few roles this year just because of conflicting things. I had a great role in Montreal that I was actually supposed to shoot in June, and you know got the dates back. It was a 5 week shoot. I only had 4 days, and three of them happened to be right at my daughter's graduation. So I was hoping we could switch it, but they couldn't. They locked all the locations in, so you have to decline, right? But it happens, but it, like I said, as time goes by, my kids are busier and busier doing their own thing, but we still got to be around, right, and make sure we're always there for them, kind of there first. So you just kind of just make it work. Find
Kind
where
of
you got
got to
time, and
sometimes you
yeah, sometimes it's
right.
early in the
Sometimes you got to
morning.
make the sacrifices like that. Hard choices.
Yeah. Well, it's even like this. Like as soon as we're done, I'm off to my nephew's birthday party. So
Oh, that's fun.
yeah, so literally like, okay, I'm done. Right, perfect. I'll be there just in time.
Do you have any upcoming projects that you would like to discuss? Anything fun in the future that is happening to you?
Yeah, there's a few. Well, there's a couple things that are going to be released soon, which I'm hoping soon because I'm looking forward to seeing them. One was a project I did a couple years ago in Amsterdam, and it sounds like it's right in its final stages now. It's just finishing up with the composers, and it's exciting because it actually was supposed to be just a feature film, but now there was so much content and footage, and the director and writer made so much of it that he had enough to make a whole 8 episode series out of it. So they're literally just finishing. I think they're just at the music. Everything else is kind of done. So hopefully, I'm hoping to see that at the end of summer, early fall, that it'll be coming out. And the nice thing with that one, if it does go, he has a part two already planned. My character's coming back because I don't actually show up till near the end of the film. I kind of bad guy who takes over from the bad guy who gets killed, and I'm kind of the lead into the next kind of thing. So if it goes, it'd be great because then just more work there, right? But and that animation series, it was kind of my first animation film. So the director was talking to have it ready in October, and he's hoping to do a theatrical release. So that would be kind of neat because I've never done an animation feature. It'd just be neat to go see it in the theater and hear your voice over, a little cartoon character. So that'd be kind of cool. Yeah. And then November, I'm going to be in Long Island for about 20 days of filming on a feature film we're doing out there. So it's going to be this crazy gangster film, lots of people getting shot and killed and beat up and that kind of stuff. It's but it should be a lot of fun. Should be a lot of fun. And it's kind of funny because like it's a lot of Italian mobsters and stuff, and I'm Italian, but my character acts very Italian, all that kind of stuff, but he's actually not. He's a Jewish guy. His name is actually Bernie the Jew, but he comes across, he lives his life like he's Italian, right? So should be fun. Should be a lot of fun.
That's interesting. I've never actually done an animated film before, so I'm curious, like, how did the voice recording go? How did you do all of that?
Well, it was it was really cool. I mean, I did a little bit of voicing to back in the day, like on some TV stuff that I did. You have to go in and do ADR and correct a few things. So I was familiar with being in the studio kind of thing, but I never did it to a cartoon before. We didn't have to like voice to the cartoon, like they animate. Like they do it different now because the technologies, they actually animate the voices, or this particular studio does. So it was nice. So they brought me and there's another lady playing. I was playing the main character's dad, and there's another lady playing her mom. And so we got to actually go to the studio together and do our recording literally. So we didn't have to like individually do our thing. We got to play off each other. And the director was there kind of sitting with us. And so it was, we just had this nice little thing going in the studio room. And there was parts where we got to just banter and improvise and just go at it. And it was just really cool. It's nice. And it's usually, it's pretty snappy. I mean, you fire off your stuff a lot quicker because there's no cameras to set up and all that kind of stuff. It's just do the one scene. And once you got that, move on to the next one. So definitely doesn't take as long. It's cool.
That sounds like a super cool experience. I'm excited for that to come out.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I really liked it. Yeah, if you get an opportunity to do it for sure.
All right. Well, I think that's about all we have time for. Is there anything else you would like the viewers to know? Your social media handles, anything else?
Yeah, I can be found on Instagram, and I'm also on Facebook. I do have a TikTok account. I'm still kind of I don't really do too much TikTok, but that's kind of as far as I go. Otherwise, not enough time in the day to do them all, right? So I really concentrate more on my Instagram and that kind of thing, and try to keep things updated there. So yeah, by all means, it'd be nice to have people come and follow.
All right, perfect. Thank you so much for joining me today, and thank you for watching Aim for the Stars. Be sure to catch my other episodes on Jess TV. Thank you.